I'm aware that a big change has just started taking place. And this one is most definitely hitting the third dimension. It's affecting my 3D senses, particularly my sight. Beforehand, even though everything I am told was 3D, everything just looked like a flat image of something that was 3D. And now when I look up the garden, I can see the depth. It's rather like when you see a 3D image using 3D glasses. You get that sense of layering and rows of the rows that give you that depth perception. That I'm noticing that for the first time today. It's like I can see the depth. And it's the first real change to any of my 3D senses that I've actually come across. I get the feeling and all that this change is more of a collective thing that's sweeping across. I don't know if it's literally sweeping through the reality that I'm seeing, or whether it's sweeping through my perception, which creates the reality that I see, and therefore it looks like it's the reality that's changing. And when I say 3D reality, I don't mean what my beliefs dictate that I perceive as happening. I'm talking about what I am actually perceiving. Like this bird table. This is the reality that I am perceiving, though what I am interpreting that reality as being, that's the reality that we create. What we perceive it as. Things that we add to it based on what we already believe and what we already hope or expect. 3D reality to me is literally what I sense and perceive in this manner, and that's what's changing. It's nothing to do with my beliefs or expectations. This is just something that's just there. It's like I can see or feel the depth between things. Beforehand, I said it was just like a flat image, that it wasn't real. There was no sense of anything being there. It felt exactly like this image, just flat. And any idea of 3D was just an illusion, because it is literally just a flat image on a screen. That's exactly how reality's felt to me all this time. Like it wasn't alive. Now I'm getting this more of a depth perception that I'm seeing. And I can suddenly see the 3Dness. It's strange. I've had lots of clarity recently, lots of understanding. And it finally feels like things are one step away from the beginning of what's being longing for, desired for, waiting for. In fact, just thinking about it now, this opening of this new kind of depth perception is making me thinking of the feeling that I've always had of being trapped. It felt like reality stopped at my nose and everything else was just a flat image. Now I can actually sense depth. Like I can finally move somewhere, there's finally somewhere for me to stretch into. And I believe that's because my consciousness has been teetering on the edge of 4 and 5D for a few years now. Every now and then stepping over to one side or the other. And all that time, I've actually been living in the reality of the 3D. And I think that's why everything's felt so flat. And I think now, finally, that fourth dimensional reality and world is actually coming in, and that's what I'm sensing. That's the difference that I'm finally seeing some form of external world reality change. Something that I never thought would happen, because I couldn't believe it would happen, because I've never come across any changes to this reality before. Something is definitely changing finally here. I don't know if it's this 3D finally anchoring the 4D. I really hope it is, because I cannot live like this much longer. I would say it's almost like the feeling that something's going to land, though it's not that type of coming in. It's like coming in from all around. Living teetering on this 4 and 5D, it makes me feel trapped, because I know I should be able to expand further than I can, but because I'm in the 3D world, that confinement is extremely restricting. And there is so much of me that simply is just not stagnant, but can't move. It's just literally tied up, and it's a strange feeling. What makes it hard is that I'm wired for a 4, 5D living, and that's completely, it doesn't mesh with the 3D world. And I don't just mean the 3D society, I mean how the 3D body operates versus the 3D consciousness operates. It's like there's an incompatibility, and there are only certain things that go through to be done. Some things my brain just freezes because it just doesn't understand how to do what it is that I'm trying to do. Or my 3D brain is trying to get the reaction from the consciousness to go about and set about doing something, but my consciousness doesn't understand it because it's on a completely different level, and there's this incompatibility and clash. I've never been able to put that into words before, but that's exactly what I've been going through for several years now. I'm only just now starting to understand. All this information about a new world, I've never completely denied that it's possible, though I've never fully been behind it, because I can never quite understand how that would be experienced. And I could never see this or myself changing. Now I realise that for my own happiness and my own sanity, it has to happen. I know I can't go back. So the only other thing to do is for this body and everything else to catch up, because it's just depressing. People say, oh, when you're on the higher dimensions, the 4th and 5th, that's it. You're all happiness and bliss. No. No. The 5D consciousness in the 4D world, whilst you're trying to live in the 3D world, is not happiness and it is not bliss. That's just... no, it's just not right. The two are incompatible. They can't be in harmony because they're incompatible. They're two completely different levels of being. And that harmony just isn't there. Not with the soul, the consciousness on that level, and the body and the life that's being lived. That is just not there. Your soul and your consciousness can be nice and happy and in harmony on its dimensional level. And the body can be with its 3D world. But the two of them, between them, there's not enough harmony. They're just I'm not saying there's anything bad or negative, they are just too different. I've had so many things on the internet, I heard so many people saying that, oh, it's all bliss when you get there, but I know now that that's not what it is. So much of the information on the internet is just copied over and over, and it's obvious that there's no experience behind it because they talk about something rather than actually being something. Also, contrary to the popular belief that letting go of your persona, suddenly all these things go away. Depression, feeling lost, they don't go away. The persona is just literally that, a persona. I've sensed my persona from the 5th dimension before, and I'm sorry to say, but you are still you, with a sense of self, and you are still fully connected to the full range of feelings and emotions and thoughts. The persona, leaving that behind, doesn't change that. Because you are still being, you are still existing. And you are still the complex being that goes through all those things. I've already written a blog post about this. It was based on a dream that I had recently. It's called The Dream World of an Awakened 5D Winged God Being in a 3D World. It's a strange long name like that, but it's basically a dream that I had that was showing how things were from my soul's point of view in this world. And it completely made sense of everything that I'm feeling. The 3D, the part of me that's here on the 3D that this body sense gives me, this being on the 3D world, of course it's nice and happy and blissful, it's in harmony with the dimension around it. But the spirit and soul, no. It's confusing. The whole physics of the reality and how the reality works is so different. The further the soul has to travel to then come out and exist in this 3D world, the more change there is, the more difference. And the more confining and constricting it is to that consciousness that is used to being aware and existing in a reality, and that is just so much more. And I can't wait for that to change. It has to change. Because this is just literally having a foot in each. And it's making me suffer on a soul level. And there isn't anything that I can really do about that. And it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel fair.